All right, thank you for listening to Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. I'm Mike. With me as always, I've got Dustin. How you doing, Dustin?
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
And we got David, aka Double D. How you doing, bud?
Hey, Mike. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, bud. Happy New Year to you as well, Dustin.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll just jump right into it. Today we are going to be talking about Assault on Precinct 13. The original was done by John Carpenter. It was like his second movie. And I think it was, I forgot the year. I didn't write down the year. I think it was
1976.
1976. And then the 2005 remake starring Ethan Hawke. So both movies I actually enjoyed, but I think we should just dive into it. Dustin, do you have any IMDb stuff?
Police ambush and kill several gang members in Los Angeles. Gang members make a pact of blood to strike back at the police and conduct a siege on the police station, which is almost abandoned and due to be closed. Staff of the closing precinct and the criminals being held there while in transit must work together to fight off the attacking gang members.
Yeah. That's about right.
I guess so.
So, just right off the bat, there's some weird stuff about this movie. Like, it is a very low-budget movie. They had $100,000, and he was allowed to do whatever he wanted. So, John Carpenter wrote the movie, he directed it, produced it, and he also did the music for it.
I love the music.
It's a great
Yeah,
score.
the music was good. He's done the music in most of his movies, his major movies.
That's good. Good for him.
Yeah.
He's good at it. He should.
Yeah,
He
did it in The Thing. He did it in Halloween. Like, that's a classic song. Like, everyone can do 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 do. I can't do it, actually. I don't know why I even tried.
I don't know why you even talking about it. Have you even heard it?
Yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
This movie was weird though. Like, what are some highlights?
I liked that it was like a total just hell world. Like Los Angeles is just a total hellscape to be living in.
Right.
In this world, and like, I don't know, it was confusing at times because like the violence was so rampant, like, and
weird and random.
Yeah, like it was random. Even like
random.
at the beginning, like when those cops are blowing those guys away, like in that alley, it's like I don't even know why they were doing it.
Well, the thing that's weird about it is a lot of the exposition is done over the radio right after that opening scene. So it just starts with like a gnarly shootout that looks like an ambush. But what it turns out is like the radio says something along the lines like a bunch of like M16s and AK-47s, like assault rifles,
I get that,
got stolen, and they were trying to get them back. But they don't explain it until after.
Get them back, or you don't see them get them back. And the guys getting murdered aren't using them
At all.
No, but
they're
yeah,
just getting murdered by police.
Yeah. The other thing that's weird about this movie is the acting is super inconsistent, and the dialogue's inconsistent. Like, there's parts where it's like legitimately good, and there are parts where like this line delivery is terrible.
I'll tell you in a minute or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Napoleon Wilson.
Yeah.
You know, always asking, gotta smoke.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have much to live for, I guess.
No. He was
But they were sending him to go to death
He
row,
was
right?
real fancy.
Yeah.
I did like,
Yeah.
I actually really liked his character. He was, you know, he had an arc. He was pretty good. And he was, like, super creepy in that every time the female, I wrote her name down, but I can't find it in my notes because I wrote it down later.
Lee?
But there's like,
Lee,
yeah.
She
Lee,
was bad to the bone, dude. She was awesome in this movie.
Yeah, Lee was awesome.
She was
but
hard.
every time she's in the room, he just, like, stares at her.
I liked how every time she shot someone, she, like, patiently lined up her shot and then shot him, like, in the face.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, there was, like, a few seconds every time of her, like, aiming real careful, and it was like, boom.
It was
got him.
like
Next
slow
one,
squeeze of the trigger, too.
Got him.
Well, she was also very level-headed. Like, towards the end of the movie, there's a point where she's like, I only have two rounds left. Should I save them for us? And Napoleon Wilson's like, no, you save them for the first two fuckers that come through, or something along those lines.
That's
and
tight.
then find a way to fight the rest. So, like, there were certain things that were great. Like, she was really great. I actually really liked Napoleon Wilson, and the main cop. I got his name. What is it?
Wasn't it Ethan Bishop?
It was Ethan
Bishop. Yeah. Officer Bishop. He was really good. It was like some of the other support characters, like Julie, the other female in the movie.
Went
She
nuts
was awful.
immediately.
Yeah. And then, sorry, Katrina was showing me something really quick. Yeah, and then that father, like, I get what was going on with that, but then he just was, like, catatonic the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
and then some of the other cops and stuff
were
not so good.
Hang on, dude. To back up, like, there is that scene, like, where the father's, like, at the payphone, and the child goes and, like, gets an ice cream, and then the bad guys come and blow away the ice cream dude and blow away a child.
Without looking, he just fucking shoots her.
Murder. The beginning of this movie is the murder of a child. It's pretty
the
crazy.
thing that's weird about this is it sets that up for a long period of time. So it's like the ice cream guy, before the father and the daughter even show up, like, is just watching these guys, like, cruise the neighborhood, and he's, like, inching for his gun because he's like, oh, these guys are gonna probably blow me away, and he stays. And then,
well, the kids need their ice creams, man.
Right. And then they come back again like 10 minutes later in the movie. Like, this scene is, like, spread out over the first 40 minutes of the movie.
It is kind of weird.
And it keeps coming back to them just cruising by this ice cream truck driver. And the kid is, like, scot-free. She's fine. And she's like, wait a second. This is vanilla,
Swirl?
not vanilla swirl. And she goes, mister, you gave me the wrong ice cream. Pah! Just shot. And I'm like, yeah. Pretty fucked up.
Yeah, she should have kept her vanilla ice cream.
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers.
Well, she bought it. She paid for it.
Buyers can't be choosers?
Buyers can't be choosers. Not in L.A.
No. I like
streets.
the very beginning of the movie. So, like, it has that opening scene, and then the opening scene, and then it has, like, the little radio thing saying, like, oh, this weapons went missing, and then it just shows, like, a city street and, like, the little, like, subtitle that tells you where it is, and it just says Anderson, California, a Los Angeles ghetto. Man, that blood scene, they call it a cholo. Double D, you speak Spanish.
I have no idea what cholo means.
I thought cholo was just kind of like a ghetto person.
Yeah, I thought so too, until this movie.
But apparently,
and then we
cholo
realized
is a blood oath.
It's a fucking blood
and
oath.
it's a specific blood oath that means you're not afraid to die.
This is your cause.
And I didn't really get this whole thing where it's like, so like 5 or 6 gang members got killed. So the rest of all the gangs in Los Angeles decided that they're all willing to die to go fight random cops that had nothing to do with the killings.
Not even that many cops. Like, when they lay siege to a pretty much abandoned police station, right?
Yeah, it's like
they're not taking out that many cops.
It's like one cop. No, it's like one cop, and then the 2 or 3 people who were transporting the prisoners.
Yeah,
you had
like
one cop and
secretaries or whatever, the support staff.
Yeah, and then the 2 secretaries.
Yeah.
And that's it. And the thing is, it's like seemingly random. Like, I get that they're like, oh yeah, it's a blood oath and we're going to go. But these guys had nothing to do with it.
They're protecting the guy that killed their dude.
Yeah, but they were still going to be doing this shit anyway. They did the blood oath before that.
Yeah. Well, they did it. They fully committed to
right.
it. I mean, the scene where they're shooting up, like, all of the windows and, like it's like a video game level. Like, it's like wave after wave of dudes at every window, and they're blowing them all. That was pretty cool. It was pretty intense.
It was intense.
It was pretty
even
intense.
though they were just climbing in the windows, but unarmed.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it lasted a long time. Like, I felt like that scene was just going on and on and on. I was like, damn, dude.
Well, the thing that didn't make any sense in that scene is I get that the whole point is these guys don't care if they die. But to me,
it seems like they wanted to die.
It seems like they're going out of the like they would see like the same window over and over, like 3 guys just blasted. Like the guy Wilson had the shotgun, and it's just like he shot like 4 people in a row, and it's like maybe not go that way. Like if you're trying to kill people and do random acts of violence, like why not like try to sneak in a little bit different? Like why is everybody going through the most direct way and not being sneaky at all?
Yeah.
And then why did they go and get all the dead bodies? Like, they went and collected the dead.
So that people wouldn't see them from outside, like if people drove by.
No, I get that, but why did they, if they don't care if they die...
No, they don't care if they die, but they don't want the cops to stop them.
Yeah, they don't want the cops to see the dead bodies and call more cops in.
But then they would just... If they actually cared, then why are they trying to not be sneaky and sneak in? Like, they just were taking the most direct... They were like zombies.
Well, what I'm saying is the reason they were hiding the bodies was so that if a passing cop saw it, they would just keep on going.
I guess, but to me, it's like, why is that something you care about when you don't care about your own life? If you don't care if you live or die.
Because you care more about killing the people inside the place.
Yeah, but they also seem to care more about just killing an ice cream truck driver. Like, it seemed like they just wanted to do random violence.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, they were like, after like the one guy at the beginning, that was the reason they were going there. And then they just kind of stayed, it seemed like.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, so I was kind of confused by that. So I looked into it. Well, it turns out John Carpenter loosely wanted this movie to kind of be in the vein of Night of the Dead. And so these were supposed to be like zombies and mindless and, just wave after wave and just senseless violence. So I guess I kind of see that correlation. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was just kind of dumb that these guys just kept coming wave after wave, like you said, Dustin, just like horde mode in a video game where there's just no rhyme or reason. Like they just swarmed you.
Yeah, but it did add that element of like intenseness just for that scene, I guess. But I liked it.
I did like how that one prisoner in that scene that you were talking about, where it was just like all them just blowing through the windows. He went and got one of the guns that the bad guys were using. And it was like a silence gun, and he's just like, this gun was empty the entire time, and I didn't realize it because it's a silence gun. So, man, that Julie chick was awful. Like, the scene where they're talking about wanting to give the dad to the gang because they think it's the gang, that's why the gang is there.
Yeah.
She was this hysterical and bad. Like,
immediately.
The moment, like, there's moments where you'd have, like, this really great acting. Like, I think Bishop was great, and I think Lee was great, and I think Wilson were great. But everybody else was terrible.
Yeah, well, I think in another, the big difference, I guess, between this and the remake is, like, Bishop, the cop dude in charge, is, like, cool, calm, and collected. Right?
Yeah.
Like, throughout the whole thing. Whereas, like, Ethan Hawke's character, like, they just added a ton of bullshit to, like, every character in the remake, I felt, to where, like, we gotta deal with, like, his feelings of shame or whatever for, like, having made the wrong call or, whatever, guilt. I don't know. Well, like, this one was more just like, no, dude, we gotta live. We gotta live through tonight.
The thing is, this one kind of had something like that. Like, I feel like something got cut because they say this is his... It's weird. So Bishop, it was his first day on one thing and his last day on something else. So I felt like, because he was a CHP officer as well, like he was highway patrol, and he was acting as a supervisor for this for one night. But they also said, so like CHP was like, oh, this is your last day. And then somebody else said it was his first day, but they all referred to him being off for a long period of time. So like something traumatic happened, but they don't explain it. So there's something to his backstory that they don't explain, but like, something happened to him, but there's nothing to it. Like, there is no backstory for any of these characters, but that also makes it just a clean, streamlined movie.
He still wasn't acting like a weenie about it.
No, he wasn't.
It made him cooler.
Definitely kept his cool.
Why didn't they use their radios? I get that the phone lines got cut, but why couldn't they use radios?
The only radio they had was in the car. Yeah. The car was outside. They
I think they mostly moved out all of the stuff. Like,
okay, I was gonna say, like, I still feel like Bishop. Don't all cops keep a radio on their belt, though?
I don't know, man. I'm not a cop.
God damn it, Dustin.
I'm not a cop in 1976.
Maybe in the future.
I don't know. I don't know if they do or if they don't. They probably don't. He probably didn't think he was going to, like, need to be doing much. Like,
that's true.
It really shouldn't have been a problem.
No,
like, this thing should have been pretty boring and lame.
I do like the interactions between the cops and the criminals in this one. So the bad guys just kind of like sneak in through like the jail cell part, and Bishop, like all the guards from the prison get blown away, but Bishop comes and like brings the guys in. So like the prisoners in this one are like legitimately thankful and like want to help out. Like there's never a point in this one where I was like, oh, you shouldn't give these guys guns and let them help you. Like they legitimately seemed like they wanted to. They seemed trustworthy,
like from the beginning. Yeah, they didn't want to get murdered in there.
Right. And I do like that. There's a point where like it's very obvious that Lee is into Wilson because they both have like long stares at each other, and there's like a point where Lee asks Wilson why he didn't run away because there was a point when Wilson and what's his name, Wells. So Wells is like the other prisoner they have. He goes into the sewer, pops out, and he's supposed to go like hot wire a car, and he gets killed because there's a guy hanging out in the car randomly. But I guess Wilson went down there and he's like, "Why didn't you go the opposite way?" And he goes, "There's only two things you never run away from, even if it costs your life: a man that is helpless and can't run himself." And then he just like stares at her. So I do like that interaction he had. Like Wilson, I think honestly thought he had a chance with this girl.
Oh, he totally
did. She seemed to be into it.
She was all about him.
Well, I mean, it was a touch and go situation there, man.
Yeah. And then you had
people's blood gets all hot and crazy.
Yeah, dude, totally. Then I do like at the end when they're like having their last stand, like they set up like barricades, and he sets up like this tank of like kerosene, and he like sets up this like thing where he's gonna shoot it and it's gonna blow up, and he has 3 shots to do it, and he misses like
the first 2.
He misses the first 2 because it's like super smoky because the other guy started a fire.
Yeah,
to try to smoke him out. So I do like that claustrophobic feeling of this movie.
Well, there's nowhere to go. Like nobody's making a break for it. The place is surrounded for what seems to be like a long time, and there are limited resources. Like it's a survival movie.
Yeah, I do. It is a survival movie. I totally get that. I do think Napoleon's character was like the hinge that kept this movie interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So like when when we were first introduced to him, they're saying he's gonna go to death row and he's gonna get killed in a couple of days, and like this cop that's with him is like super interested in him. Like he comes and sits next to him on the bus and starts asking him questions, and Wilson knows. He's like, yeah, every time a cop comes to me, they either want to fuck with me or they want to like ask me why I am the way I am, because like they all say he's super intelligent and came from a decent background, so it's strange that he's a bad guy. And then he has this thing like he keeps asking people for smokes, and he had this like really good thing where he's just like, maybe I'm just an asshole and everything. Like he was what he was, and I really liked that. And then he was also a smartass. Like the officer explains he's being driven to death row and that he'll shoot him if he does anything. He's like, you understand? He's like, you mumble a little bit, but I got the general idea. So I really liked him. Like overall, I liked the movie a lot. Yeah. It was really simple. It's one of the few John Carpenter movies I've never seen, and that's a big part of why I wanted to cover it.
Yeah.
But it's a really simple, straightforward movie.
It's
much
also
like
really short. It's really tight.
It's an hour and a half, I think, right?
Yeah, it's like 96 minutes, including the credits.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very
super quick,
straightforward. I don't want to say basic movie, but I mean, yeah, there wasn't a lot of back to it, but it was still good.
Yeah, there's no filler.
Nope.
So yeah, cool.
Just like
there's
that
nothing
air.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we just move into the second one already?
Sure.
All right. Go for it, Dustin. Tell me what this one's about.
On New Year's Eve, inside a police station that's about to be closed for good, Officer Jake Roenick must cobble together a force made up of cops and criminals to save themselves from a mob looking to kill mobster Marion Bishop. What they don't tell you is that mob in this movie is dirty cops.
Dirty cops.
Oh, I mean, dude, there's a lot of shit they added to this. Like, they really
John Leguizamo
fluffed up this one, man. Like,
Ja Rule.
Well, I actually liked this movie. Like I don't think it was a bad movie, and I think for a 2005 movie, in this time frame, a lot of things were about dirty cops. So this movie came out while I worked at the movie theater, and not too far before or after this, there was that 16 Block movie with Bruce Willis that was also about dirty cops and everything. So it seemed like in the mid 2000s, there was a lot of movies about like dirty cops and stuff like that. So it really fit that time frame that movie came out in.
I guess. I don't know.
I mean,
I do
it's cool.
Appreciate the character backstory. It makes you care about the characters a little bit more, I guess. That you know something about them, like they're not just one-dimensional archetypes.
I mean, yeah, I'm fine with like the backgrounds of the people in the precinct. I just thought like it got a little convoluted with the dirty cops with great gear.
And where did they get all the gear? Where did they get all the stuff? Don't you have to check that shit in and out?
I mean, if you're dirty and you got the person who's like in charge of checking stuff in and out,
but it's
like,
so much stuff, dude. Like it's
and why do all the cops have silencers? Like, is that a thing that police normally carry?
Well, the thing is, this is also Detroit, so I'm sure that
the Detroit cops have silenced weapons that they use.
Shut up! I was gonna explain it. So no, my point is Detroit is super. There's a lot of crime in Detroit. It's possible that like these are weapons and stuff that they took from criminals that they just never checked in, you know. It could be stuff like that. The problem that I had was at the end of the movie, after they've held their ground in this abandoned precinct for, 12-ish hours, they bring a police chopper.
Yeah.
Like, that's not something that you can, like, cover up. Like,
especially
it's
in a
super
blizzard.
expensive, and you have one that says police on it. Like, they're not covering that up at that point. Like, the whole time, like, the dirty cops are like, oh, we're going to blame this on Lawrence Fishburne's, mobster buddies. Marion Bishop.
Yeah, dude, but that's so
but as soon as you bring
at that point.
it isn't until you bring a goddamn helicopter into the mix. Then it's like,
dude, I mean, I don't know. I think it would have made more sense if they tried to just buy off fucking Ethan Hawke.
Also,
right.
Why, when Ethan Hawke ever had an assault rifle, was he firing from the hip? Every time.
Yeah, he was doing that a lot. Well, the other thing with this movie is everybody... So these guys were like cops and SWAT, but it seemed like everybody who ever got killed got snuck up on and was like headshotted. Like everybody was killed by a headshot. So there's a point where... And these dirty cops who are there to kill everybody, they hesitate a lot.
But they should, dude. Like, I don't think that they really signed... Like, what they're doing on this night is straight up murder.
Yeah,
like
that's what they all signed up. They knew exactly
like,
what they were doing.
Well, I'm saying I don't know that they all knew that they were signing up for this. Like, when they got in to get on the take, that someday a day was going to come where they had to just straight up siege a police station and just murder people.
Yeah,
you're
usually
right.
I think if you're a dirty cop, I'm going to look the other way a few times.
People are dealing drugs or whatever. Like, most of that would be looking the other way. It wouldn't be assaulting a,
right. You're right. But
position.
At this point, when you're fucking kitted out for a war and you go in and you've killed several people already, it's always strange that it's like once the initial bunch of like the prison guards were killed and then like a couple, like the one prisoner's killed and, a couple people have been killed. At this point, like they're totally on board with killing people. And there's points where it's just like to make false dramatic tension. Like you'd see like Maria Bella's character constantly would be alone with a bad cop and they would just like aim at her and then they would stop and then they would aim at her and then like Ethan Hawke's character would walk up and just point blank shoot him in the head. Like it was just every time Ethan Hawke got to kill somebody, it was just like way too easy for him to get the drop on somebody. That kind of bothered me. And then you also like, or the two criminals would come in and beat the shit out of him with like a baseball bat or something like that. Like that kind of was like, these guys are supposed to be SWAT dudes and they get the drop on them every single time.
Yeah, I don't know.
And these cops are like super obvious, like before they even get to the point where they're like gonna go on the precinct. So they arrest Bishop and they're holding him at a different police station. And Bishop's crew is going down an escalator and all these like dirty cops are going up an escalator and they literally reach over the escalator and just like start decking the criminals. It's like, you can't do that. Like,
well, there's also like, don't they say like they're like they cut the phones and they're jamming the cellular,
they're jamming the cellular
and,
and
like,
the radio frequencies.
Yeah,
like, that must be expensive.
It must be conspicuous. Is what, like everyone in that neighborhood, like I don't feel like you could localize it to a building. I don't know. Maybe.
The thing that's weird is this is in Detroit, right? As far as I know, there's no forest in the middle of Detroit.
I've never been there.
And at the end of this movie, like this precinct is in the middle, like right next to a forest. And at the end, like the last 10 minutes of this movie take place in a forest. And like, what the fuck? I don't understand.
right on the outskirts of Detroit. Is there? I don't know. Maybe there's. I don't know. I've never been there
either. But I'm gonna go with Mike and say there isn't a forest there.
I don't think there is.
The element too of it being during a blizzard seems like just another like cheap way.
Every time they had the camera through the windshield from the inside, it did not look like there was a blizzard.
No.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
So this big thing drives me crazy is every time someone's outside, the sniper is trying to shoot at them and misses every time. Like that sniper probably fired 100 rounds and only got 2 people.
But he killed Ja Rule and John Leguizamo with headshots.
Right. Well, John Leguizamo's character was an idiot for like trying to climb the fence like that.
Yeah,
he's a junkie.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. Like they're like crawling through the snow and Ja Rule gets shot in the shoulder.
Oh.
And then he like stands up and gets shot in the head. And so he just watched his like criminal buddy get shot twice. And he's like, I'm going to stand straight up, jump on a fence, stay in one place for a second, and then start to climb.
Yeah, dude.
So he gave him like 6 shots, he gave him like 6 seconds to line up a shot, and then you get shot in the back of the head straight through. Like, that was stupid. It was like way too easy. And I don't know, like certain parts of it were dumb. Like, I do like how this movie did keep a lot of like the major beats from the previous one, like going down to the basement, having someone go out to go hotwire the car, and stuff like that. So you get that tension where you're like, oh, something's gonna happen, what's gonna change, and everything changes slightly.
But speaking of the hot wiring of the car, like, why did that guy wait until they're fucking halfway down the road?
Down the block?
What the hell?
Maybe he was
killed
asleep
them while they were hot
maybe
wiring, yelling at each other.
Right. Yeah, maybe. And then they capture her, Maribel, and she like lies and says it's 100 cops in the building. They shoot her in the head. Like, everybody gets shot in the head.
Yeah, she got pretty good.
I forgot she died. I totally forgot.
I saw this movie when it came out in theaters, but I've only seen it the one time, so I didn't really remember this movie at all. And the thing about this is, the other thing that didn't make sense is, it turns out, or maybe I'm wrong on this, but the O'Shea, the older cop who's like retiring, was he in on it the entire time, or did he somehow communicate with them? They're like, I'm going to help you out.
I think he was probably in on it the whole time.
Because I feel like if he's in on it the entire time, he would have found a way just to, like, because he ends up cutting the handcuffs so people could get in.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like he would have just at one point killed Lawrence Fishburne and just been like, yeah, he got hit by a stray bullet or something.
What I'm saying would have been easier if he were in on it the whole time, is if he had gone to Ethan Hawke secretly and was like, yo, dude, they're a bunch of dirty cops. We'll cut you in on this. Let's just kill the rest of these idiots and get out of here.
Or just be like, dude, like, because he was like, why don't we just give them what they're asking for? They want him. It's not worth our lives. Let's just do it. And Ethan Hawke at that point is like, they're going to kill us no matter what. At this point, we know too much. So I get Ethan Hawke's point, but you're right. Like,
another thing too, which would make that smarter, is okay, hear me out, right? How many cops do you think got shot and killed during this siege?
Like 30?
30. Okay. So, on this night, regardless of whether or not this is a success or a failure, on one night in Detroit, 30 cops were killed in one place.
Right.
Some investigation is going to happen. Like,
right.
Like, I don't know how high the corruption goes, but I feel like someone is going
30 deaths.
Exactly. Like, it's already fucked. Like,
right.
The whole plan is dumb.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, they're all cops.
Oh, last night in Detroit, 30 cops were killed in one place. Like, dude.
Right. Well, and the thing is, these guys are all cops. Well, and that one cop, like the main cop bad guy, is a big deal. Like, he's like a captain or like somebody big, right?
Captain Duvall.
Yeah.
They can't even say that the 30 cops were killed in the drug raid. It was at a closing police station. Right.
But at that point, like,
there's no cover story.
Why could Duvall not just go in with a couple of cops and just be like,
sure,
police
hey,
had to.
This guy cannot be here right now. It's we can't have him in this broken down place. We're going to transfer him to a more secure facility, and just fucking killed him.
Or he could have just walked in with cops and just killed everybody.
Well, they could have just walked in and like had because they wouldn't have let them in and just been like, hey, we heard that the bus broke down because of the blizzard, and we were very afraid that this guy's mob was going to come and get him, so we're here to support you.
Yeah, we'd be like, okay, cool, we got it from here. Take the rest of the night off. Enjoy New Year's.
Right.
Bye.
That would have been so much easier.
Thanks, Cap.
Have a happy New Year. We got this from here.
So like, there's little things like that don't make sense. Like, you got to buy some of it for the movie. But yeah, like, if it's actual cops, I find
like the whole thing,
considering there's only 2 cops there, and one cop is definitely okay with. I don't know if O'Shea was in the entire time, but like, when did he communicate with them? If they
communicate with them, like
he knew there were cops right away, because the very first time he has an altercation, a school bus. He like kills a guy with a knife through the eye, and then he finds his badge. So it's like,
right
within the first 20
minutes. Also, why did you bring your fucking badge when you're doing dirty cop shit?
Right. So at this point, he knows they're all cops. The bad guys know that he knows they're all cops. So I get at that point, they're we just need to kill them all. And realistically, they're thinking it's only 5 people. There's no way that these guys could, hold them off. Which realistically, there's no way these guys should have been able to do it.
It's the
like, really only having one or 2 cops, depending on if he was not in on it the whole time. 30 cops versus 2 cops. There's no way these guys should have not been, especially with someone being SWAT.
I guess what I'm saying is since, this is a remake, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the choice was made to change the enemy from criminals to cops.
Right.
I think that was a very poor choice.
Yeah, I think it was more like the times, because like everybody was a dirty cop in the movies in that time.
They've been dirty cops since there's been cops. Like, it just doesn't make sense for this kind of siege movie for
there's so many other ways it could have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even really think of that until we started recording this, and it was like, it's deeply flawed. Like, it makes it interesting because of
right?
These guys don't want to die, so they're going to be harder to fight and kill, and they're trained better than a standard, gang member.
Yeah, done with.
But so it makes the conflict harder. But in reality, like, the cops made it so much harder, other than just going in and being like, "We're gonna take this guy right now."
He was all funky anyway. He wouldn't have put up. Yeah, his resistance would have been pretty weak and easy to overcome, right?
But Ethan Hawke's character Ronik was completely like shut down and not bought into being a cop anymore.
Yeah, he just wanted to be a weenie.
Yeah, as long as he has his desk job.
I did like that opening scene.
Yeah.
When like they're showing that he used to be an undercover cop, and
named Napoleon.
He brings his friend in, and like the friend, it turns out, like testified at one of the gang members' trials, so they figured it out really quick. But that scene was really weird. Like, it was super choppy. It cut up a lot, and
it was strange.
It was interesting. I thought it was really funny. Like, Ethan Hawke did a good little like tweaker at the character at the beginning. There's certain things, like, I think the performances in this movie were really good. Like,
they're fine.
The dialogue was good. The action was tight. Like, it is a functional movie if you don't think of the glaring plot holes.
The movie by itself is functional.
I mean, like, the production value is good.
Plot
like,
line.
Everything was tight. But yeah, now that the 3 geniuses that we are discuss this movie, it falls apart. We killed
it.
Well, the choice to remake it, okay, cool, but the choice to make these changes, I think, makes it an unnecessary remake. Like, it's
like the thing that would have been the most simple is if what the bad guys were saying they were going to cover it up to be is the gang coming to release Bishop. If it was just gang members trying to get their mob boss out,
sure,
they could have kept it like
if
the original,
like fanatically loyal gang members. Like, yeah, that would have been
almost fine. Like Point Break, where like the people are super into Bodhi, and he's like a Bodhi character, like they're completely bought into his vibe. It would make sense that these guys are willing to like lay down their lives to go get their boss back.
Sure.
Man, we should remake this movie.
Nah.
The 3 of us can hold down the precinct.
Yeah. That was just something that bothered me. Why not get ladders or like ropes or something instead of bringing a helicopter in? That makes it the most...
what were they even going to do by helicopter?
Land on the roof.
For what?
To smoke them out.
Just come in through the top?
That's what it was. No, they explain it. So when they go land on the roof, Drea De Mateo's character, who's like the Lee in this movie, and she straight up tells like one of the other cops that she like who's super into her that she like only fucks like criminals, which is a little weird.
A little.
But she goes, they land on the roof, especially someone who's working for the police station. Somebody who likes to sleep with criminals is probably not someone you want working at a police station, even in a administration capability. But she starts firing at the roof already, and she's like, Ethan Hawke's like, why are you doing that? They know we're in the building, but they don't know where we are. You just gave away our positions. So she's like, wait, if they're on the roof, let's just go run to our car. They're like, no, they're doing that to scare us out so they can pick us off. And that's exactly what ended up happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I actually really enjoyed this movie while watching it. But now talking about it, I'm kind of like, this kind of sucks now. Dustin, you ruined this movie for me.
Well,
that's what his job is.
God, I don't really have much more to say about this movie anymore.
I just want to ask, do you guys know how flashbangs work? Because I don't know if it would just blow a hole in him.
It didn't blow a hole in it, it just burned him.
Oh, did it? Because it looked like half his chest was like fucking missing.
Yeah, it was just like all his skin and stuff was like burned off. Yeah, he didn't have like a hole. Like, there was no puncture wounds or anything like that. It just burned. It's like phosphorus, which is really hot, and it burns hot and fast.
Well, I wouldn't want to get hit by one.
Oh, and that's the other thing, like, Jarul was like always, his name was Smiley and always referred to himself in the third person. That was an interesting character choice. I liked John Leguizamo's character, Beck. Like, he was one of those tweakers, but he seemed like an intelligent person. Like, he's very articulate.
I liked when he was like second guessing like that cop that came in.
Could be a plant.
He was like, we should blow this guy away. It could be a plant.
That's a smart way to think
about it.
Like, that makes sense that you would think that way. I wouldn't have trusted him. And then even Ronick.
I just pushed him outside.
Yeah, just like, get out of here. Even Ronick, at one point, because they handcuffed a door shut, somebody went through and unlocked it. He was like, you did it, even though it was O'Shea. So, like, you know, it did bring some tension. Like, I do like having another person come and do it. Like, it added a few things to this movie that made it a little bit more interesting and different. But now that we just know the plot fundamentally doesn't hold together, I don't really care about these, like, more intelligent things that they did in this movie.
Nope.
No.
Nope, because they did one giant stupid thing.
Right. I still don't get the O'Shea thing. Like, if he was crooked the whole time or if he just... That was a big thing that I did not understand the entire movie.
I feel like he would have to have been.
Yeah, I think so.
Because if he had been crooked the whole time,
nobody was
I feel
talking
like...
to him. They went through the trouble to say everything was all jammed and whatever. Like, there was no communication.
I feel like if I were the O'Shea character and I was in on it the entire time, because initially before like all the entrances,
I feel like I would have been like, cool, I'm gonna go out and get in the car and go let all the cops know, and then just drive away.
Or even go like this and go, if he's stuck there too and he doesn't want to look like he's like with the group, because he doesn't want to get his cover blown, so just in case shit goes south, he can still look like he's clean, is him, Ronick, and Bishop were all the three people who were wandering because there's too many entrances. So they had the two, like the administrative people and the criminals guarding specific spots, and then the other three were wandering around. It's like, just wander around and get close to Lawrence Fishburne, kill him, maybe shoot yourself, like get a graze, like shoot yourself in the arm or something. You're like, I got, but you know, he got, I got hit in the arm, but the guy got out. Like, they got what they wanted. And try to cover it up that way. Like, that would be the smarter way to do it. Like, because I don't know how he communicated with the other cops that they were going to come out the sewer. Like, somehow he either had to communicate with them or he flipped later. I don't know. And he kept trying to create, like, a Mexican standoff situation. Like, 2 different times in the movie, he starts picking fights with the criminals, and they all, like, point the guns at each other, and everyone's going to go.
I don't know.
And it's like, why even do that? Because you're just likely to increase the chance that all of you are going to get killed.
Because he's old.
They already have guns. Like, the criminals already have guns. So if you start a fight and one of the criminals who's a hothead decides to shoot, you're all dead versus just working with them. This whole movie's flawed. I'm done talking about it.
Done.
So let's just go around. Anybody think this movie needed to be made?
No.
My big thing on it is no. At this point, I enjoyed it while watching it, but now discussing it, I realize how stupid it is.
I'm just not a big fan of Ethan Hawke in general, so it was hard for me to pay attention in the first place. But I don't know. I didn't enjoy it either at first.
I don't know, man.
But my big thing is like I like John Carpenter movies. Like, I'm actually kind of interested in them doing an Escape from L.A. or no, sorry, Escape from New York remake. I think they could do that interesting, especially with Robert Rodriguez doing it.
Nope.
I love The Thing. I love Halloween. Like, John Carpenter movies are great.
Yeah.
I don't get why this movie was one that needed to be remade. It was his second movie. There's nothing fascinating about it, really. So I don't really get why it needed to be.
I think it could have been remade better than this.
But I don't feel like that movie is one that needs to be remade, where it's a big pop culture thing where it's like, oh, this is a franchise we need to milk. Like, Halloween, I get why they keep remaking it. Because those movies are cheap to produce, and they're iconic. And you can keep
people will watch it on Halloween.
But this movie's not, like, the original one of this movie, like... The original Assault on Precinct is not an iconic movie, really. Well, so I don't get why they felt they needed to do it.
Another thing I didn't really like was you went from cool, calm, and collected Bishop in the original, right? Cool, collected black dude, to whiny white dude as your main dude.
Right. Well, and the other thing is that guy, like, he's whiny, but he's also cocky. Like, the entire movie, he's convinced that Maria Bello's, like, psychiatrist character wants to fuck him.
Yeah,
and
he's just annoying.
He's, like, super creepy, and it's like... He's not a very, like, a hero that you want to be.
I didn't care if he got killed.
You can look at, like, John McClane in Die Hard 3, and, like, his life is, like, at rock bottom. His wife left him again. He's an alcoholic. He might get fired from the force. But he's
a fucking badass.
But he's a badass, and he always does what he thinks is the right thing. Like, that's still a character. You can make a down on his luck, bottom of the, you know, barrel kind of hero
badass,
that you still want to succeed. But, yeah, you don't ever really care about Ethan Hawke.
He doesn't care about himself. Like,
He
I
just
feel like
pissed me off with those
he's
hip shots.
a bad day away from taking himself out anyway, so fuck
Right.
him.
And then to comment on what you said, Double D, like not liking Ethan Hawke, like he's one of those actors that does like a really good movie and then a bunch of shitty movies, then a really good movie, and then he thinks he's like an artist.
A bunch of shitty movies.
He did Training Day, which is great.
Yeah,
and then
great
he
movie.
did I'm trying to think, like I can't even think of a good movie he's been. Gattaca, great. Gattaca is one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. I think it's a really thought-provoking movie. But then he does movies like this. He did that vampire movie like Daybreakers or something like that.
I'm not even down on Ethan Hawke. I'm not against him. I think his performance was fine. I just think, again, when we're making choices about remaking these movies, and this one in particular, like, this is another poor choice.
I agree.
Like, I feel like at some point they were sitting around a table talking about ideas, right? About, we're going to remake this movie and we're going to do it like X, Y, and Z. Somebody there should have been like, no, that's a dumb idea and it's worse than the original.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Right. Man, I'm done. I think we just destroyed this movie without even intending to. I did not go into this episode thinking we were going to bash this movie. I expected it to go in and be like I can't even think of it, like one of the movies where like, yeah, they were both enjoyable, watch them. And now I'm like, yeah,
There's
don't waste your time.
Too many bad decisions.
Yeah.
Too many bad decisions.
Maybe we're just too smart for Hollywood. Yeah, well, thank you guys for listening to Remake Rewind. You can check out everything that's MDXpods related at mdxpods.com, on Twitter and Instagram at MDXpods. Check out our other podcast, Ruin My Childhood. And then another thing that we're just kind of doing as a side project, periodically, a couple of us will get on the phone and just have a conversation. We'll throw those up as bonus episodes every once in a while. That's called Remake, Rewind, Remix. Those will just be bonus episodes. We put one out on Star Wars a couple of days ago.
It really
so hopefully
wasn't too dissimilar from our take on the remake of Assault on Precinct 13.
Right. Yeah, that's true. We went from loving the movie to like questioning it to realizing maybe we don't like this movie. So yeah, check all that out. Check us out on Patreon if you want to get these episodes, a couple of days early and some interesting rewards. Other than that, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, later.
Later,
Bye.
dudes.